Hi guys, welcome to our first Direct Wine Cellars virtual wine tasting. So I might have been getting a little bit excited and I've already started. Thank you so much for joining us. It's awesome to see some people on the line. The idea behind this was I normally sit in bottle shops on a Friday afternoon highlighting our brands to different consumers. And because of the recent situation, I can't do that, so why not bring it to you in your home? So I do encourage you to please grab a glass, drink with me. You might not have the exact same wines, but the idea, I guess, is to do a bit of an essentials run-through to understand different brands that we have at Direct Wine Cellars, and hopefully you can go away with a little bit of trivia tonight, and try something a little bit new, perhaps next time you're at our website. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I will be running through the wines, probably, for as long as it takes, really. I do like to talk. I'll just warn you about that. And if you do have any questions as I'm speaking, just post them into the chat. And as we go, the team here at AV247, thank you guys so much for allowing me to use your space. They will let me know about what the questions are, and I will do my very best to answer them. But as I said at the beginning, I really want this to be a bit of an essentials class. We're going to focus on one of our brands, my absolute favorite brand that we have at Direct Wine Cellars, the one that I've had for the longest, and the one that I think a lot of our customers love too. I mean, you can give me a thumbs up if you agree, but we're going to focus on Sensi Vini. Sensi, the #1 Chianti seller globally. He's a top 5 Tuscan winemaker, and the wines that he makes are just so good to drink now. So I'm going to share a few of them with you today. I will drink them. I promise I'm spitting. I will drink them, I will share a bit of information about them, and hopefully entices you to try something a little bit different next time you are at Direct Wine Cellars. So, might as well start with a little bit of bubbly, shall we? So we're going to start with our Prosecco. Now, this is one of the biggest selling Proseccos on the market right now. But one thing I wanted to talk about was Prosecco as a product. People see the word Prosecco extra dry and assume that Prosecco means it's really dry. Extra dry meaning really dry. Now, there's this mistranslation with Prosecco. When you see the words Prosecco extra dry, you need to know that it means the Prosecco is slightly sweet. So all sparkling wine starts dry, which is about 20 grams of residual sugar. Extra dry is like 14 to 17 grams, and then it goes to brut, and then extra brut, and then zero sugar, which is like zero dosage, which you might have seen around champagne, for instance. But it's Friday afternoon. I'm sure you're all stuck in your homes. You've all had a wonderful week working from home, and it's always a beautiful sound to hear a bottle of bubbles. What I love about Prosecco, it's affordable, it's easy drinking, you can mix it into Aperol spritzers. My absolute favorite Friday afternoon, like that 5 o'clock, just cut the weekend. Like, this is my week, and then I'm cutting to the weekend. It's, 1 part of gin, 3 parts of this delicious Prosecco, and just a little bit of soda water. But right now we're going to drink it straight. You'll notice I am drinking out of a normal glass. I don't think you need to drink out of flutes. I also don't think Prosecco, Prosecco can be drunk out of the bottle, but don't tell RSA that. But what I love about this Prosecco is that you get this beautiful aroma of white flowers and pears, and it's just so fresh, And the other thing I'm picking up today, which is really interesting, is a little bit of aniseed, which I wasn't expecting. But yeah, I don't know if anyone's tried this Prosecco. You can give us a little thumbs up if you have. But it's a really, really aromatic, fresh. It just pops out of the glass. So let's have a little taste and see if it actually lives up to the nose. Wow. That's the other thing about Prosecco. It's so vibrant. The bubbles are just, it's just so zesty. Sorry, I just hit my mic. The bubbles are so zesty. To me, it just smells celebration. And I know a lot of you might not have tried this Prosecco, but potentially have tried this one. The gold bottle, super popular in Australia. The difference between the two is that this is your extra dry style. I actually find it a little bit more balanced than the gold bottle because the gold bottles are brut, so it's drier than this one. But I do love the balance of acid and fruit in the extra dry style. So I highly recommend people trying both of them next to each other. Any excuse really to drink bubbles, but try them both next to each other and see what you think. But yeah, personally, absolutely love this Prosecco, and it's one of my biggest delights to share this Prosecco with people. When it comes to bubbles, I'm super fussy. I'm definitely a champagne kind of girl. So when it comes to Prosecco, yeah, I'm a little bit fussy. But hopefully you enjoy that. Again, if you have any questions about Prosecco, please let me know. This comes, even though Sensi, I should acknowledge, even though Sensi is a Tuscan winery, this Prosecco comes from Treviso, Veneto. If you've ever been to Venice, this is the region of Prosecco. And I'm sure if you've been to Venice, you've sat in San Marco Square and drank a glass of Prosecco at an exorbitant price point. That's where Prosecco comes from. So that's that wine, guys. I'd love to know what everyone's drinking at home, though. Hope you've all brought your own glass. The cool thing about doing an event like this, a little virtual wine tasting, is I can bring you things that aren't even available on the website. This is the Mandriano Vermentino. The reason this isn't on the website is because it's kind of exclusive to restaurants. And restaurants don't really like wines that are showcased online. But the best thing about being on this call today is we can be a little bit sneaky, right? So I really wanted to highlight this Mandriano Vermentino today because it comes from a region called Maremma. Maremma is a region on the coast of Tuscany, and it's where all the rock star winemakers went in the 80s and 90s when they were sick of making Chianti. They were like, we are tired of adhering to the laws of Chianti. We're going to go, we want to plant Vermentino out here because it's, Vermentino grows normally in coastal regions, so like Liguria or Sardinia. This region of Tuscany that the Mandriano was grown is very similar to that. You've got limestone soil, you've got the mountains to one side, you've got a beautiful coastline to the other. So this is a very famous region for winemaking. And if you've ever noticed on bottles of Italian wine, you have what we call appellations. So IGT, Indication de Geographica Tipica. You have the DOC, don't ask me to say it, but the DOC and the DOCG. This was the start, this region was the start of the IGT appellation, because before IGT, which is an indication of the geographical area, or what I like to call essence of the winemaker's passion, a reflection of the winemaker's passion. These wines would be called table wines, and trust me, they are way, way too good to be table wines. So, Vermentino. I'm sure a lot of you have tried our Pinot Grigio and stuff like that, but what I love about Vermentino is that it's lively. Because of the minerality in the soil, the limestone soil, minerality pops out of the glass. There's white flowers, there's pears. This is a nice wine. Yeah, sometimes you don't want to spit. Sorry, guys. That's really yummy. But, it's a kind of wine that has such vibrant acidity. And when I say acid, actually, this is a really good point. Because you know how people, when they're talking about wine, they always talk about acid and tannin. Let's talk about acid for 1 second. Acid is that feeling of when you sip the wine, you swallow it, and then you tip your head forward. That feeling that you're going to drool, that mouth-watering sensation, that's acid. So a wine has a lot of acid if you drink it and your mouth just waters. And what I love is when the acidity and the fruit are so well balanced that you just have to go back for a second sip. It's delicious. So this Vermentino is one of our biggest sellers in restaurants. And it's the perfect wine to drink if you're having seafood or shellfish, even a soup, like a light soup. One of my absolute favorite summer drinking wines, but it is also that real nice hint of oak. I wouldn't even say oak, it's not even oak, it's like a creaminess to this wine. So it can support heartier dishes like a chicken casserole and things like that, but definitely need to try something like this with seafood. I'm not sure if anyone's tried this because, again, it isn't on our website. If you do want it, I have a sneaky thing at the end that we might be able to take a look at. But that's our Mandriano. There is also a red in that as well, and that's a Sangiovese. But let's move on to another very important white wine. I've got to be careful. I'm drinking. I hope you're all having a glass with me, that's for sure. So, Vernaccia di San Gimignano. I will give anyone something, you know, if they can say that. Actually, a very important point is that when you're trying to speak Italian wine, remember that Italian is very phonetic. So when you look at this word, Vernaccia, as long as you know that a CI makes a ch sound and a CH makes a k sound, it is very phonetic. So just say it as you read it. Vernaccia di San Gimignano. And as you can imagine, it means Vernaccia, the grape, from the town of San Gimignano. This is the most important white wine of Tuscany because this is the only DOCG white wine of Tuscany. What does that mean? DOCG means that the government guarantees this wine. The government, I mean, you've got the wines as like the wine regions that protect the grapes, the yields and the fermentation process and the aging process. But when it has the government stamp on it, this is the government guaranteeing that this is exactly what's coming out of the country. The reason DOCG started, I should watch my words because we don't know where this is streaming, but let's just say that the government were finding a few dodgy producers sending out things like Brunello, which is the grandfather of Tuscan wine, and it was only really Chianti. So they, you know, the authorities do go through different wineries every few months just to make sure that what they say they're doing, they're actually doing. This is Vernaccia, one of the most wonderful wines, one of the most beautiful wines to have with food, and very underrated. When it's youthful like this is a 2018 vintage. 2018 vintage. When it's youthful like this, you get this beautiful pop of aromatics, very much like a Sauvignon Blanc, but not Sauvignon Blanc. So if you're scared of Sauvignon Blanc, don't be worried. But I mean, when I say it's aromatic, like it is. It just, you can sit out here. I can smell this coming out of the glass. Like, it's crazy. But what I also love is that you get this beautiful dried herb, this like buttery, oh gosh, it's buttery, it's fruity, it just pops out. Like there's like stone fruit, there's pineapples. And then again, it just translates onto the palate. It's so beautiful and dry, and like it is bone dry, but it has this beautiful like fruit, less floral. This one, you more that dried herb coming through on the Vernaccia. This is a great wine. But yeah, this is, as I said, the most important white wine of Tuscany because it is the only DOCG. Again, a very big seller for us in restaurants because people are a little bit scared to try things that are a little bit different. And did you know that that Italy has like 3,300 grapes that grow, and 1,300 of those are native? So it's not something that grows everywhere, all over Italy. But this is just, yeah, it's so round, like it's really creamy, but that dried herb, like it just cleans out the palate. Like it's a really beautiful herbaceous wine. But it's this peach, like peaches and beautiful stone fruit that just pops out of the glass. So, yeah, really happy with this. It's not expensive as well, which is really what I love about Tuscan wine. It's one of those things that you're getting this ridiculous quality for I don't know, for $25. It's just crazy. But yeah, highly recommend it. Great with food. I'm actually having sushi tonight. I think I'm going to take this one home and drink it with my sushi. Don't tell anyone. But that's Vernaccia. But do I have any red wine drinkers on the line? I hope so. Because as I said at the beginning, we got some thumbs up. Awesome, love that. As I said at the beginning, Sensi is the #1 Chianti seller globally. What does that mean? He has the most Sangiovese under vine, Sangiovese grapes under vine in all of Tuscany. So if there's something that he knows how to do well, it's Chianti. And what I love about Chianti, I call it adult Ribena. It is so easy to drink. It's the perfect Friday night drink. It's just pizza, pasta, Netflix, chill, like the greatest thing. Jeff, totally with you. We are hitting the reds. I'm sure you are one of my clients that actually probably have a bottle of this Chianti that we're about to try in your cellar. So maybe it's time to pull it out. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you 3 different Chiantis, and I'm going to explain the difference between them. Okay, so we have this little Chianti. I'm not going to drink this one because it's way too cute and it's little fiaschi. I have a really good piece of trivia for you. I'm sure a lot of you have seen these little raffia baskets, or Chianti fiasco. This is a really good piece of trivia. I actually hope that one day I'm going to have a trivia question and I'll be able to answer this. Can anyone tell me what this basket actually was for? Like what they used this basket for? I'll give you a second and let's see if anyone knows. I'm just asking the team here. No? No one knows. Okay. You are going to love this. So as an Australian, we know about stubby holders. Oh, hang on. Grapes. Okay, yeah. I'd hope so. Stubby holders. This was the original stubby holder. So what they would do, they would wet the basket, right? They would wet the basket. They would freeze the basket in their ice boxes. This is like ancient times. Freeze the baskets. And because it was so hot, they would make the wine, they would put it in the bottle, and they would place it in these stubby holders. How cool is that? The original stubby holder. That is what these fiaschis were. So that's a little bit of trivia for you. Hopefully it does come up at a trivia night one day. But like I say, to me, this is just Chianti. So Chianti is made from Sangiovese, at least 80% Sangiovese. But it can be blended mainly Canaiolo Nero. So Canaiolo is a native Tuscan grape or native Italian grape. But it can have a little bit of Merlot and stuff like that. So it is up to the expression of the winemaker. However, it has to be 80% Sangiovese to be considered Chianti. It also needs to be grown in the region of Chianti. So we're going to explain this a little bit more with, not this one, the next one. So this is our little adult Ribena. Just drink it from the bottle. You start drinking it when you're 12. I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite wines as a Friday night delight. So I'm going to put that one back over here. We then have Chianti Classico. Okay? So Chianti Classico is a little bit more serious. So what happened in the 80s when there was a boom of Chianti? I guess the authorities, the wine region authorities decided, ooh, people have demanded Chianti, we better open up the region. So it went from like this Siena Rada, like really small circumference of area of Sangiovese to be allowed into Chianti, to being this broader area. So I'm talking from like, if you've been to Chianti, like Siena Rada, all that area, all the way up to where Sensi is in the Vinci Hills. So up near Pisa, like almost up to Pisa. So it's quite a lot of region that's considered Chianti. So, being Italians, no offense to any Italians on the line, the people who were the originals were like, no, this is not fair. We were the original. We want our own thing. So they started a thing called Chianti Classico. So Chianti Classicos have smaller yields. It's DOCG like all Chianti. But what I love about Chianti Classico is that you can really taste the terroir. You're looking at longer aging times in barrels, so you get softer, richer tannins compared to normal Chianti, and much higher acidity. So it makes it absolutely perfect with, the tomato-based dishes that a lot of the Italians like to have. But who doesn't love a medieval story? Does anyone want a medieval story? I'll tell you a medieval story. Again, a little bit of trivia about Chianti because it's so much fun. Everyone talks about the Gallonero. So this is I don't know if they can have a close-up of this little Gallonero. The Gallonero is this black rooster. So there's this really big misconception with Chianti that if it has the black rooster, then that means it's a better Chianti. No, the black rooster simply means it's from the region of Chianti Classico. But how did they get the black rooster, I hear you asking? Medieval stories. So back in the old days, when they were ancient days, medieval days, when they were trying to work out boundaries around provinces, what would happen? They would have riders, these riders get on their horse and they would ride. And as soon as they meet, So like one writer from this province, one writer from this province, they will meet, and wherever they meet, that becomes the border of the region. So when they were working out the Chianti Classico region, or the Chianti region, so Siena Rada versus Florence, the Firenze rooster versus the Chianti rooster, the Siena rooster, the Firenze people starved their rooster, right? The rooster that would wake the rider up. So the Firenze people starve the rooster. The rooster, obviously dying of starvation, just like a little child, wakes the rider up a lot earlier than the Chianti Siena rooster. So obviously by the time the Chianti rider has met the Firenze rider, he's only gone about 4 kilometers. So if you've ever been into Tuscany, you'll notice that the Siena border is so tiny compared to the region of Florence. That is literally the reason this black rooster on the Chianti Classico is literally, that is the whole story behind this black rooster. That is literally the reason. Is that the most ridiculous but fantastic thing you've ever heard in your entire life? So if anyone ever asks you, the black rooster has nothing to do with whether the quality is better, because I have tried some very bad Chianti Classicos before, trust me. It's all about the region. So that's one Chianti Classic, that's one of the Chiantis we're going to have. But before we do that, we're going to have the Sensi Campoluce. The Campoluce is our organic Chianti. What I love about this one is because now we've gone into this age of organics and biodynamics and vegan, Sensi paid for a certain plot, so he has a lot of Sangiovese. He's paid for a certain plot to be his organic plot. Organic being no herbicides, no pesticides. Ironically, he doesn't really use that stuff anyway. Tuscany has this beautiful microclimate that doesn't really need a lot of that, but shh. So because there's a smaller plot compared to the big region, I guess, or the amount of yield he has of Sangiovese for Chianti, it makes it a lot more complex, a lot more dense, a lot deeper, a lot more, it's just a bigger wine. It's a bigger wine. So for those people that, like when people who love Australian Shiraz and things like that, and they're trying to expand their palate, I'll always push them towards this Campoluce. Because as I said, there are denser characters in this. It is a lot more medium-bodied compared to regular Chianti, but it's a good introduction to wines of the world. What I'm finding, though, is as soon as I introduce people to wines like this, they don't go back. So I highly recommend people try everything, but if you are looking at trying your first Italian red, or even if you're not even a red wine drinker, like if you're not a red wine drinker, and you want to explore and try and become, I mean, look, you're in isolation for how many weeks now, right? We might as well come out of it as a red wine drinker. This is a great place to start. So it's medium-bodied, and it really highlights, it really highlights the tannin and the softness and the fruit that you get from Sangiovese. It's textbook. Oh, so when I say textbook, so on the nose. This is 2017, so we have a couple of years on it now. Oh, so good. Dark cherries. You get this beautiful tobacco leaf. Oh, black currants. Oh, not black currants, like blackberries, fresh blackberries. Oh, and the dried herbs. Oh, super complex. Oh my God, has anyone tried this? Great wine. Oh, I know I should be spitting, but my God, it's outstanding. One thing I love about Chianti is, or one thing I love about Italian wine in general, is that you can close your eyes and without knowing what you're drinking, you know you're drinking Italian. And how do I know that? High tannin and high acid. So we've mentioned acid before, but what is tannin? So as I said, if I'm drinking this and it makes my mouth water, that feeling of my mouth drying up, that thing you want to bite on, that chewiness, that's tannin. And tannins come from your stalks, your skins, your seeds, all that kind of thing. Do you notice how much I love this wine? It is so complex and so affordable, and I just go, how is this even possible? You get beautiful black fruit, red fruit. You get this like tobacco leaf. You get pepper. You get that amazing drying tannin. Like, I'm just like craving. Like, does anyone have any pasta? Like, oh my God. You just want some pasta with this. Like, I should be speeding because I have to drive. We do practice RSA at Direct Wine Cellars. Guys, if you haven't tried this Chianti organic, it is amazing. It's a lot more fuller bodied. It's so dry. It's my mouth is still watering from it. It's so complex. Highly recommend it. Yeah, just slow it down there for a second. But if you were to compare it to this side by side, this is much more like adult Ribena. It's light, it's fruity, it's free, it's just drink it from the bottle, you know, like totally different wine to this. This is definitely a food wine, but I do love it as a Friday night, as I said, Netflix, pizza and chill, compared to this, where if someone has some wild boar they would like to serve me on my table right now, I'd very much appreciate it. I'm going to show you something interesting. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. I don't know if they can zoom in on me. But the color, we're getting into more of a red. Yeah. So we're looking at 2015 Chianti Classico. Chianti Classico spent 18 months in oak, whereas something like this only needs to spend about 6 to 9 months. Chianti Classico spends 18 months in oak, which means it's much more rich in tannin and higher in acid, but absolutely perfect with food. It actually needs food. I find in Australia we've become so used to just drinking, and I think in Australia we have this thing about we choose our wine before we choose our food, whereas in Italy it's more about food comes first. The long lunch, people think it's a story, it's a real thing. So the long lunch situation, all the wines that are produced in Tuscany just go with food. And it's just amazing that, you know, you think of the acidity in tomato-based dishes, which is what they're quite famous for, and then the acidity in the wine. You know, if you're ever looking at how do you pair food and wine, if you're drinking French, look at what French eat. If you're drinking Italian, look at what the Italians eat. If you're drinking Argentinian, like Malbec, eat meat. That's what the Argentinians eat. It's amazing how the wines are produced for the culture. It's quite an interesting thing. So, Chianti Classico. The other thing I like about Chianti is that it's only like 13% alcohol, which is just perfect with food, but also no headaches and no hangovers tomorrow. So that's another thing I absolutely love. But yeah, the color on this, it's a lot more red compared to the Campoluce, which is a bit younger. The other misconception about wine is the color or the legs, right? The color of the wine simply talks about the age. That's all it is. So when a wine is super purple, it just simply means that it's young. All red wines start purple. And as it ages, you'll get into that red. You want to get into this beautiful ruby red. Once it hits brick red, you're done. Chuck that wine out. It's off. It is not port, unless it's port, sorry. But look, I'm a big believer in what you put into your body is what you get out of your body. So make sure you don't drink wines that are off. Just as a tip from me. But straight away, you get all those tertiary characters. You're looking at 2015 vintage on this Forziere. Oh, wow. Yeah, gosh, it takes a second. Because it's all dried herbs, it's leather, it's tobacco. It still has a little bit of fruit though, which excites me. I gotta stop doing that. It excites me that it has a little bit of fruit still. It means that this wine, like with Chianti Classicos, I'd give them 10 years. I would not drink them beyond 10 years. A lot of Italian wine I wouldn't drink beyond 10 years, unfortunately. But I also think that a lot of Italian wines are brought out when they're ready to drink. So take that from the Italians. So something like this, it's 18 months in oak, it's released a year later, just drink it then. So let's have a look at the tannin and the acid. Wow. Super aniseedy as well. Lots of like that licorice character. And here we go. So all that acid coming up. Wow. It also has a very long finish. I probably could sit here for another 30 seconds and still taste that, which is awesome. Yeah, wow, that's great. The best thing about this for me, I know you guys are watching at home, but the best thing about this for me is that I don't get to try these wines all the time. I know you probably think that I sit and just drink all day, but unfortunately I don't get that opportunity. And we also have about 100 and something wines that we import, so it's nice for me to sit here and try these with you tonight. This is excellent, excellent wine. Beautiful finish, really full on the palate. Yeah, but it's just all those tertiary characters. So look, you're either like me and like wines with that. So yes, it has a bit of red fruit still. You've got that dark cherry. Like imagine like chocolate cherries. That's what it tastes like, that real chocolate cherry flavor. But amazing amount of dried herbs. You've got that leather, you've got that acid, you've got all that tannin. It's just, you just want to chew on this wine. It is just, oh, delightful. So that's delicious. I'm not sure if you've ever tasted this one, but again, it's probably one of those wines that aren't even on the website because it's mainly a restaurant line. I do find that when people are buying online, they are looking for a bargain because of course you haven't tasted it. And I appreciate that. But you know, there is a whole world of wine out there and oof, this is really delicious. So, oh, thank you for indulging me on that one. Okay, now our last little wine for tonight, and then what I'll do after this is I'll basically go and sit in a little chat room with y'all if you want to sit and have a talk to me. Oh, we've got a question. Yeah, where in Tuscany is Sensi, and can you visit? Sensi is up in the Vinci Hills. So you might know a very famous man called Leonardo da Vinci. He's born in Vinci, obviously, so Leonardo of Vinci. And Sensi's up in the Vinci Hills. Unfortunately, you can't visit unless you know someone, because it's more of an industrial winery. It's not really a cellar door style winery, and it's basically because he's so busy. They are a big company. They are all about quality and consistency, and they just can't have people walking around. And it is family owned, actually. You're looking at 5 generations that have now owned Sensi. And the cool thing, if you've ever tasted the Calapiano range on our website, the Calapiano range is old Medici winery, which is pretty cool. So if you know the infamous Medici family, then you'll know that Sensi owns one of their wineries. Sorry, I'm just focusing. Another question's come through about what is the difference between natural and organic wine. This is such a great question. Such a great question, and actually a massive pet peeve of mine. So obviously there's this beautiful natural wine movement. Natural wine essentially says that there is nothing done in the vineyard, so they don't spray. There's no herbicides, no pesticides sprayed in the vineyard. They kind of let it do what it does. Then they put it into the winery and they don't do a lot to it. They let it ferment. A lot of stuff is done by the cycles of the moon because it's suggested that as the moon changes, it pulls yeast certain ways. Like there's this whole spiritual kind of element to natural wine. Whereas organic wine is just, there's no herbicides and pesticides used. Natural wine is definitely a movement. You can use sulfur in organic wine, because sulfur is a natural derivative. It's a natural, what's the word I'm looking for, guys? It's a natural preservative, I should say. A natural wine, they can't have preservatives. They're not meant to add, they're not allowed to add natural wines, sulfur to natural wines. So that's something. My biggest issue with natural wine, the natural wine movement at the moment, is that people are getting away from the fact that it should still be wine. It shouldn't be people just fermenting liquid in a dirty winery, making it taste like rotten mouses and mice, and I don't know, I can't even explain it. Yeasty, dirty kind of thing. Natural wine, I'm a big fan of Castagna down in Beechworth. If you're looking for someone who does a proper natural wine, it just means that the wine does its thing. And the winemaker doesn't really need to do much. It's all about the vineyard. As long as the vigneron is taking care of those grapes and looking after them, and that doesn't mean with herbicides and pesticides, it's about checking BOMA, it's about making sure no diseases are getting in, so they protect the grapes in different ways that are natural. The winemaker doesn't have to do too much, okay? So Natural wines, they're also unfiltered, so they don't put any casein or egg products, so it's a much more vegan product when you're buying natural wines, whereas something like the organic Chianti has been filtered. So that's the thing. So hopefully that answers your question. As I said, after this, I'm going to sit in the chat room with you and we can have a discussion about that. But it's a big pet peeve of mine because there's a lot of natural wine out there that are made by people that should be beer makers. And we can talk about that later. But thank you for the question. That's a really great question. Okay, now we get to another very important red wine from Tuscany, the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. Can anyone guess what the grape variety is? Let me tell you. It's Sangiovese. So this is 100% 85% Sangiovese actually for this one, but they have to be at least 85% Sangiovese. But in the region of Montepulciano, the town of Montepulciano in Tuscany, not to be confused with the grape Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. This is called Prugnolo Gentile, and this spends 1 year in barrel to be considered Vino Nobile. Vino Nobile, it's like the royal wine, but you know what the cool thing and the biggest trivia question about this one, the best trivia question about this one? This was the very first DOCG wine of Italy. The very first government-guaranteed wine of Italy. This was the, the saints' wine. Not the saints' wine, the king's wine. This was what the kings wanted to drink. It's pretty special. 2016. Oh, I have another question coming through. Okay. Great question, thank you. I noticed not all Sensi wines are from Tuscany. Why is that? I'm going to come back to that after this, if that's all right. Okay, let's go back to Vino Nobile. So, what I like to say about the Italians, no offense to the Italians, but I do have some funny stories about the Italians, let's face it. With Vino Nobile, even though it's all Sangiovese, the Italians, being in their region, want to name it their thing. So, in Montepulciano, the town, it's Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. In Montalcino, it's Brunello di Montalcino. In Chianti, it's Chianti. They just can't handle it just being the same thing. It's like they have to own something. So hopefully you understand that. But Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, absolutely love this wine as well. But this is one of those wines that it either... I don't know, you either love it or hate it. But as I said, it's the first DOCG wine. Why people hate it, I think, is because it's very herbaceous. Like straight away you smell that, it's like just herbs and leather and like it's like a leather boot. But see, when I smell that, I smell Tuscany. It's like a leather boot. But it also has this beautiful cherry fruit as well. So it's textbook Sangiovese, really. And that beautiful tobacco leaf. But the reason I think this wine really divides people is because, my God, it has so much tannin. It's like, I need water. I can't talk. I literally need water after drinking a wine like this. But it's so good. It's so complex. You know, like you can taste the barrel, you can taste the herbs, you can taste the cherries, you can taste the leather, it's just so complex and the finish is just so long. What a wine. And again, 13.5% alcohol. Like there's no headache, no hangover tomorrow, and it just goes with all different types of food. But I do love this wine. Again, it's another underrated red wine from Sensi because, again, it's mainly for restaurants. But look, let's face it, if you're sitting at a restaurant, you're not going to go, I'm going to buy the Vino Nobile. You'll probably go for a Chianti or a Sangiovese. But this, my goodness. It's even got this tomato meaty flavor, but the tannin, like it's chewy. This is a chewy wine. So it's why it divides people. You know, it really does divide people, but you know what? It's something to taste, and it's definitely something to drink with food. Yeah, it's absolutely delicious. I highly recommend everyone try it. 2016 vintage. So as you can see, like a lot of people know Sensi for the Collezione, for instance, which will bring me back to the question that one of our viewers had, because they want good value for money everyday drinking. How about the wines that you can age for 5 to 6 years, 10 years? This is that. They get released, I think they get released ready to drink, but you can age them for a few more years, and they're such great value for money. I'm so excited about this tonight because I'm already thinking about how I'm taking this home to drink it. It's so exciting. But to come back to why Sensi has wines from places other than Tuscany. In Australia, I guess, we have Penfolds, right? And you know Penfolds as being a brand that, you know, it's consistently good. Like, you can pick up a bottle of Penfolds wine and you know it's going to be good. Sensi wants to be that. He wants to be the Penfolds of Tuscany. He wants people or Penfolds of Italy, I should say, the Penfolds of Italy, where you can trust that every bottle that you are drinking is going to be technically sound, it's going to be easy to drink, it's going to be great value for money. You know, he has his Rawson's Retreat, which you have your Sorrows and your Borgos and your Vertos, and then you have your Grangers, which goes up to your Governato on the website, our Amarone. You have things like this. So he wants to be known as a reliable, trusted source for Italian wine. Especially if you are just educating yourself in Italian wine, he wants you to go to him and trust that it's going to be good. So, for instance, we sell a load of Pinot Grigio from Veneto and a load of Prosecco. I think Sensi is known in Australia for the Prosecco because of that gold bottle, frustratingly. But he is still a Chianti producer, right? So, yeah, so he just wants to be technically sound. He wants you to trust him and just become the Penfolds of Italy. So, yeah. So, I'm not sure how long we've gone now. I think it's about 45 minutes. I hope you enjoyed that. That's like a bit of wines. What I wanted to do to thank everyone for jumping on the line, if you are interested in any of these wines, and you can just email me, especially the, oh, hang on, I've got another question. Oh, what's my favorite? Gosh, what's my favorite wine? From Sensi, I definitely think the Organic Chianti is my favorite. It's definitely my go-to. It's my everyday, it is my everyday drink. I absolutely love the Chianti Organic. So yeah, jump on that if you're looking for my favorite. In terms of white wines, I love the Sensi Collezione Vermentino, but also just because it's everyday. But otherwise, the Vermentino Mentriano is awesome. So yeah, thank you for the question. That's very sweet. So what was I going to say? Yeah, so if you like any of these wines, just email me because a lot of them aren't on the website. But what we're going to do is offer 20% off to anyone on the line tonight. So 20% off if you use the coupon code FRIYAY, FRIYAY, F-R-I-Y-A-Y, few 2-minute drinks, I think. You can use that 20% off on any orders over $100, and it's basically on these wines here, but there are some that aren't available online, so just email me if you're keen to taste them. The other thing that's really cool, I'm a rosé fiend. Is anyone else a rosé fiend? Like, I just love rosé. It's a breakfast drink, it's a brunch drink, it's a lunch drink, it's a dinner drink, it's a Saturday drink, it's a Sunday drink, it's all the drink. This is our new Tua Rossa. This is a brand new wine that Sensi's just brought out. It's all about the bottle. It's definitely made in the Provence style. So this is something we'll be launching on the website very soon as well. I'll just put that there so you can see it. We'll be launching this on the website as well. Again, another wine exclusive to restaurants. But again, if you want to taste something that's really good, it's 100% Sangiovese. Yeah, give that a go as well. But that's it from me tonight. I'm going to sit down with you and have a glass of wine because I think I've spoken way too much. So please stick around for a sec if you have any questions. Yeah, and I'll be back right after a quick reset. Also, we probably will do this again next Thursday because next Friday is Good Friday, but it's also my birthday. So I'd love to share my birthday with you all. I keep saying with American drawl, with you all. So I'll bring a bunch of my favorite wines, like the wines that I like to drink, from all the different brands that we have for my birthday next Thursday. I do hope you can join us. But otherwise, stay on the line. I'll be back after a quick reset. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.